Something to think about with Dale Happy Knowles.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Ah, boy. Ah, boy. Welcome to Something to Think About. My name is Dale Happy Knowles, and we like to pause, think about it with rational thought, and then we consider where we ought to go with it. What we think we become, what we radiate, we attract, what we imagine we can achieve. Let's change the narrative 242. You can join us in the discussion via the chat sessions here on Facebook and also on YouTube. We are open to sponsorship, mainly so that we could help those startup companies and the like have an opportunity to expand their businesses through advertisement. And we want you to subscribe, like, and follow as much as you can. And share, because that's the way we do things. So tonight, we have another special guest, another lady in red, who will bring a wealth of knowledge empowering us to be able to move forward. And we talk specifically about the reset generation, which is, as I define it, the generation Z's and Y's. Why reset? Because they all grew up in the digital era, of which there's only on and off. They don't know in between. That's what they know. Either they're going for it or they're not going for it. They don't really rally or dilly-dally and any of that to do. So tonight we have a very special guest, as I mentioned. And so we have Mrs. Patrice Taylor, who is going to join us right now. And crap, thing went out. So Patrice is a very exceptional professional in the field of human resources. And we know her for many more years. And she is certified in many likes, and I'll ask her to give the certifications for you. But we know her going way back to even to Kurifta days, her experience and her professionalism, and being able to deal with what is now considered the generation X's, the generation Y's and Z's, what we call the reset generation. And so what we're trying to say here is that we will ask her to give us a quick overview of her scope of things as she goes, as we introduce her. So welcome, Patrice, to the show.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Happy.
Yes, you're very welcome. So today, we want to talk about the reset generation in terms of how they are and what they will be able to do for us. Now, we know that we've just been hit with COVID, and COVID slapped us silly left, right, and center. And so what we've been doing for the last 20 years and sitting on our laurels and not embracing the digital environment, COVID now slapped us into doing that right now. And so what we asked the discussion is so that we could address the things that will allow us to move forward. And so what we will do with our first questions is that we want to know that when we define two things, which is the Rainmakers, that one definition of a Rainmaker is that in business, a Rainmaker is a person who brings in new business and wins new accounts almost by magic, since it is often not readily apparent how this new business activity is caused. It means generating substantial new business or additional cash flow from sources sometimes outside the established business channels, sometimes by connecting with people in non-traditional or hidden markets, and sometimes by prompting current clients to spend more money. We see them as game changers. And so I see the reset generation as game changers in the way forward. And so what we want to do now is find the gap, discuss where they are, what skills they have, what potential they have, and what capacity they have in order for us to be able to move forward. So when we look at the situation, the first question I have for you, Patrice, would be the reset generation, why are they so misunderstood? Are you there?
Yes. Why are they? Yes, I'm here. Why are they so misunderstood? That's the question of the day. First of all, let me say again, I'm delighted to be here, and it's such a timely topic. But I'll ask you a question. Did you realize that there are 5 generations in the current workforce? 5 generations.
There's
currently
5?
There's 5. 5 in our current workforce.
I thought it was 4. 4, but
5.
5 makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we have the silent generation, those from 1928 to 1945, which people sometimes forget that the silent generation is still there. Many of them are still in the workforce, and then we have the baby
treat
boomers.
all them as baby boomers. So So I might be wrong. I'm stand corrected for that, and I definitely will make my adjustments moving forward.
Yes. So there are 5 from the silent generation straight to the Gen Zs. Okay. Now, your question to me, why are they so misunderstood? I think the first thing that I'd like to do is kind of give the misunderstandings, the perceptions that people have about the millennials. Okay, so I'd like to go through that. Something I'd like to add to your definition of millennials, of the reset generation, is that these are the generation. This is the generation of people who have been raised to believe that everything is possible. There is nothing impossible. They've been raised by what we call helicopter parents who tell them you are invincible and you can do anything you want to do. And they take that same attitude with them. Like me and you. There you go. They take that same attitude into the workplace. Okay, so it's important. I wanted to just put that out there, so because we're going to come back to that, right?
Yeah.
And another thing about them is the reset generation was a term that was coined during the 2010 global downturn, the recession, because what was found out was that the millennials had to reset their lives because of the financial downturn. And many of them, what they did was they ended up moving back in with their parents and adjusting their lifestyle. And so the term reset attached itself to them during the period. Okay, and I said that for a reason, because that also has implications as to why they act the way they do. Okay, but we're going to come back to that.
Right.
So let's look at the work ethics that people perceive that the millennials display, the reset. Right. And I'm going to be using those terms interchangeably, millennials and the reset generation.
Right.
Okay. So, interesting fact. So, according to the Wall Street Journal, there is a non-existing work ethic where they're concerned. Yet, they have very high expectations of pay. Okay. Right. High inducements, low contribution. Important finding, however, is that they value progression more than they value monetary reward. They have no respect for hierarchy. They value flexibility at work. And according to that same PwC survey, 97% of those surveyed say that work-life balance is important. In other words, they like that balance between their personal time and their career. They're ambitious and they seek promotion early. They love challenges, and self-gratification is very important for them. And this, I'm coming back now to that economic recession, the hardships of the recession. It has made them, more self-reliant and really focused on pleasing me. Okay? So they are brand conscious as consumers, but more importantly, in the work environment, they are very brand conscious. So they want to work for the employer of choice, the big names. Okay? There's a couple more things about them. They demand immediate feedback and training. Remember now, they were raised by the helicopter parents who constantly reinforced them, told them they are all of that on a slice of cheese, right? So they're now open to having portfolio careers because loyalty to them is low. They don't want to spend their entire career in one place. Now they will do that,
but they're loyal to a cause, though.
If they find that their needs are being met in that place, they're happy to stay there. But they will be flying the coop as soon as they can if those needs are not being met. That's when they become they have that portfolio career. Okay? So they are, and this is the biggest one, they are the tech savvy generation to their merit. They are that tech savvy generation. Okay? According to that same PwC survey, 50% of them say that they prefer to communicate in the workplace electronically versus face to face. And listen, I have 3 millennials. So I'm a mother to 3 millennials. And it amazes me how, the home phone that we are used to, Happy, we used to having a telephone in the house. You don't need it. And the thing is about it, they don't hear it at all. Their ears are totally deaf to that phone, but they will be on their smartphone for hours and hours and hours. You're talking to them and they're glued to the smartphone. And it's so with all of there you go. So listen, I thought this was so interesting and funny. A survey conducted recently by Media Post said that they surveyed millennials, and 1 in 10 of the millennials said that they would rather lose a finger than to give up their smartphone. Lose a finger than give up their smartphone. So that's who we're dealing with when we talk about the millennials. When we talk about the reset generation, it's important to understand what makes them tick. It's important to understand what the characteristics are, what the perceptions of them are in the workplace. So I just thought it important to run through that list. And so now the question
I would add, before you answer your question, I would add though that in terms of loyalty, I think that's a misunderstanding that in terms of them being loyal, because they once you can make sense to them, they are some of the most loyal to be behind you and pushing to get whatever that cause is thing, because I find them to be very much results oriented and not any of these soft things that we have. Soft.
They are task oriented. Very task oriented. And listen,
go ahead.
And the thing is with them, they will go the extra mile. So they will work the overtime. They will work on the weekends if they believe in the cause, if they believe that there's gratification, if they buy into the end result, right? So to their credit.
And I found that gratification doesn't necessarily mean cash, but it just means if you can't just dismiss
fulfillment.
You need to be able to give them recognition and the like, and some they feel fulfilled, as you mentioned, then they will go beyond. And we see it in our children who had commonalities of swimming and other things, that swimming is a lonely sport. You swimming hours and hours and hours and hours and hours for gratification much later. but they still did it. So, they did it because it was their
That's right.
friends and their team that they were all doing it for. And once we could establish that type of environment in the workplace, then considering they make up so much of the workforce, I don't see why we should be struggling to figure out how we're gonna
And that's another thing
rebound
about
our
them. They're very
economy.
team
Yeah, focused. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, I missed you for a second there.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, no, I missed you for a second there, but I missed what you
Oh,
just
yeah.
said, the last thing you said.
No, I was saying they're very team focused. So
Oh,
they will
yes.
work as a group to get, like I said, once this whatever the target is, it making sense, then they all about it, right? And I look at my boys and what they into and stuff, and the minute anything gets shaky or somebody look like they riffing around and stuff, they gone. They don't stick around to hang with the wrong crowd, or I shouldn't say the wrong crowd, but a crowd that is not going where they want to go,
Yes,
right?
because they're
Because yeah,
driven. They know what they
right.
want. Yeah, absolutely.
So when we look, that's your experience with it, which wraps that up really well, and paints a good picture for us. So tell us, what skills do they have to bring to the table that really and truly we not, or we're ignoring on the most part because either our ego is getting in the way, or whatever it is that we think that they are unloyal and so we don't pay them attention, or that they're selfish, whatever the misgivings we have of them, we losing the fact that we're not leveraging their skills. So tell us what skills you see from a professional point of view that they have, and which ones are the greatest ones in order for us to benefit from.
Well, I'd say the most critical skill or crucial skill, sorry, would be their tech savvy skill in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for where we're headed, for where we are now, I wouldn't even say where we're headed. Where we are now, we are in the digital era. And COVID came
Right.
along and it pushed, though, even those companies that had a plan to gradually evolve into a digital culture, COVID came and pushed that along at least 5 years ahead, right?
Right.
And so here it is now. We have these millennials who are naturally tech savvy. They have that technical acumen. It amazes me how even coming on this show tonight, of course, I had to rely on my millennial to set me up, and most of the time when I being real, you know what I mean? I have
Yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
rely on them. We find ourselves relying on them, and we think, and I say it all the time, you're so smart. We think they're so smart because they can do these things, but they're wired that way,
Right.
and so that's a
Mm-hmm.
skill that we need in the workplace, because we still have the baby boomers in the workplace, and a lot of them are still afraid of technology.
Oh
And
yes,
so
big
we can
time.
leverage we can leverage the technical skills that the millennials are bringing into the workplace. And, it's easy because it's easy for some of the generations to say, these young people, this, that, the next thing. But the thing is, we have to leverage the skills that they bring in with the experience that we have.
Right. Right.
Those
Right.
technical skills and experience that we have,
Mm-hmm.
we have to leverage those things to make sure that, number one, we're helping them to grow, because guess what? We're leaving the scene and they're going to be
Mm-hmm.
the workforce of the 21st century.
Yep.
So they're coming in with those skills. Let's leverage what we have and what they have, and make a level playing field, and actually advance the organizations that we work in. So the technical
Right.
skills, they're tech savvy skills, I would say, are the most important ones right now in this age that we're in, especially in
Yes.
COVID and post COVID. So that would be the first one. Now, they're very confident, right? Very confident. We spoke about that before. They're that confident personality. They have those competencies that allow them to connect easily with people. You spoke about them being very team oriented, and that's what we need in the workforce. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, Organizations are about people. And if we cannot come together as teams, how do we progress?
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they bring in those soft skills that are missing
Mm-hmm.
in so many of the leaders today. You know, they come
Oh boy.
bearing their
Mm-hmm.
soft skills, whereas the leaders
Mm-hmm.
have to be taught these soft skills because they're so traditional and transactional. They're not ready to go into that transformational type of culture where they actually they're accepting of change and accepting of new policies and procedures. So when we see them coming into the workplace, that's what they bring. They bring a new culture. They bring it with
Yeah, but
them,
that's where
you
succession
know?
comes in. Right.
That's where succession comes in. That's
Mm-hmm.
where succession comes in. But
Yeah.
now the thing
So
is, how, go ahead, sorry.
no, I was just going to ask. So that's what their strengths are. So in terms of deficiencies, everybody has deficiencies, and I always told my staff, whether they were 2 or they were the 350 that I had at any one point in time, that don't focus on somebody's deficiencies. Why ask them to do something that they are deficient in? So, and that seems to be what we are trying to do in our arena now, in the Bahamas now with our youth, is we trying to ask them to do things that they're not efficient in, or like that they might be deficient in. So help the public understand what are those things so that they could know not to even try to get them to do that. Get somebody else who is stronger to do those things, and focus the attention for what the research generation are strong at. Let them do their strength. What do you say to that?
Exactly. Or coach them, to
Mm-hmm.
develop new skills. So if you give them a job description that you know because of their experience and exposure, there are going to be deficiencies, then you must create a culture of coaching and
Mm-hmm.
upskilling, new skilling, right?
Yep.
And
Retooling.
you have to make sure that there is a learning environment. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they respond to anyway. You know, they learn
Right.
us.
Right.
You know, I call them information gluttons. They love information, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so we have to make sure that we create that environment that's conducive to their learning and growing and developing. Now, the thing is, again, I like to come back to the same notion of emotional intelligence. When they come into the workplace, emotional
Mm-hmm.
intelligence skills, the first thing is they get threatened. They feel threatened
Mm-hmm.
by the young people coming in, thinking they're coming to take their place. And then emotional intelligence is about self-awareness, knowing who you are, what you bring to the table, and being able to
Mm-hmm.
leverage what you bring to the table, not worrying about anybody else, right? And then there's
But
that
that's not
self-discipline,
nothing new.
you know.
That's nothing new,
No, it's
because I
nothing
mean,
new, and I think it will always be with us.
right. Because in the 80s, when I came back from school, and as a new engineer, blah blah, and people might have been doing things slightly different, and you try to put those things on the table, then the same battles was there. So for those who believe that these are new things or the like, we just need to find ways to embrace it, and for everybody to be able to come closer and work as a team towards whatever the company's goals are. But you go ahead.
Yeah, but how do you say embrace it? When you say embrace it, the thing is, I think that there's gonna
Embrace
have
the
to
person.
be, or embrace the
No,
person. I
okay.
understand you now.
When I
Oh,
okay,
okay.
so when I came back, for example, I mean, use me as an example. So there were
Mhm.
skills that persons who've been in the field for the longest had developed that I wasn't even near having those skills, right? Or fine tuning those skills. I might have been raw at them or what have you. So what I'm saying is embrace the person for who the person is. And like you say, the things that you could tailor them, not to use the last name, but tailor them, but tailor them to make them better, but focus on
Mhm.
their strengths, so that, because that's
I
what
agree.
your benefits going to come out of. And I don't,
Abs-
that's what I'm saying. I don't see that happening in the work environment today.
Unfortunately, that is true. I have to agree with that. I have to agree with that. Now, that's because we have to teach soft skills. People don't,
Okay.
this is a notion that people, there's so much argument on that. But we have to teach
Okay.
soft skills. We can't assume that because a person is a leader or a manager, they have those skills.
Right.
And when we think about it, a lot of people are managers because they've progressed up those tiers, right? Not
Right.
necessarily because they have the people skills. And when we think about leadership, leadership is about people. It
Right.
isn't about the
Right.
tasks, or it isn't about the
Mm-hmm.
title. It isn't about, how you've gotten to this point, or the CEO of the company. It's about how you lead people.
Yeah.
Okay. And this
Getting
is a
results
notion
through
that we
people.
need to
Mm-hmm.
now. Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we do must be people-centered. And we now need to ensure that we're teaching people those soft skills. Soft skills are important for
Mm-hmm.
leaders, and that's what leads to turnover. Those millennials will be out
Mm-hmm.
of there because you're creating such a hostile and toxic work environment that there's nothing to
Right.
induce them to stay,
Yes.
you know?
All right. So we're coming up onto our commercial break, or our break that we take. And so let me ask this question here. So what is the reset generation's mental capacity? We always struggle about this D average and this all these other foolishness that people is be throwing around for their emotional comfort. That's what I call it. Just pure emotional comfort to make it seem like some generation better than the other. But from a Generation X's capacity, where do they fit in the whole scheme of things?
I think they have an advantage because here it is now we find that a lot of them are not your traditional learner.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So where it is, we're measuring them on how they pass in the BGCSE, how they pass in the BJC. And the thing is, our educational system is structured so that it's very traditional. Now, I'm hoping, and we all hope that because of COVID and the remote learning and all of this stuff, it has now opened the door to more non-traditional forms of learning. And that's what
Okay.
we're finding. That's where the gap is, right? Now, it's not, I say gap, but I don't say it from the point of view that our reset generation don't have those skills. They
Right.
have those skills, but our educational system is not tailored to pull those skills out of them. And so when we find a student who is very good with their hands, listen, I have a son, he is brilliant. And I'm saying that he's very good in school, but he's not interested in a desk job. He's also very good
Right.
with his hands. So
Mm-hmm.
when you find students like that, what you will find is when they're in that traditional system, teachers find them rude, disruptive, etc. Why? Because they're
Right.
not being
Right. Right.
challenged, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're out of position. And so I think the reset generation has many skills. There's not deficiencies, but it's just that our educational system has not been
Mm-hmm.
tailored to make the most out of the skills that they possess.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
So
So we're going to go to the break now, and when we come back, we'll dig deeper into the potential that the research generation brings to the table, and the capacity for them to become rainmakers for us, which I think is a huge, 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 huge item for the Bahamas. That we have this huge advantage over a lot of people. We'll talk about that after the break. So we'll take this break now, and we'll be right back.
with over 20 years human resource management experience at Hephzibah HR Training and Development, we are well positioned to provide human capital solutions, including recruitment, HR generalist services, HR consulting, coaching, training, and organizational development. Call us at 447 4525 or visit our LinkedIn page at Hephzibah HR Training and Development.
I feel like I was just on another planet.
Can you feel the beat? You hear that bass? Boom, 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 boom. So welcome back. There's something to think about with Dale Happy Knowles. And we've been talking with human resources professional Patrice Taylor in reference to the reset generation, their skills, their potential, and capacity to become rainmakers. So the Bahamas is digitally poised to explode. Some 20 years ago, we built the networks, and now COVID has slapped us, like we talked before, left, right, and center. So we could now move into that space where we should have been some time ago. So we're not going to worry about the past, but we're going to worry about where we go forward. And so looking at where we are now, that we're now out of this stupor, we asked the question, because the Almighty has blessed us so well, what is the reset generation potential to be rainmakers for this country today? You still there, Patrice?
Right. Yes, I am here. Well,
Okay.
what is their potential to be rainmakers? That depends on the level of skills and skills training that we're providing. I saw recently that Cisco has launched a partnership with BTVI to offer training.
If I tell you that that program or a program similar to that was birthed from this chair in 2006,
really?
that did not materialize because of what we're talking about now, where it just was seemed to be before its time, right? So we could have been from way back then, but
Yeah.
Continue, because I think I know what you're going to say.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, if we have programs like that are set up, it tells us that we are in tune with what the skill sets that are going to be needed, the most demanding or most popular skill sets that are going to be needed in order to take this nation to the next level in this digital era that we're currently in.
Right.
It means that when our young people, and we're going to have another group graduating very soon, when our young people are graduating, they now must be looking at those skills. They now must be looking at those careers and those job possibilities that are steered towards the digital era that we're in.
Okay.
I looked up what would be the most demanding jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. And of course, I expected there to be technical jobs and technology and computer jobs and that sort of thing. And of course, they are on the list. But also, what was interesting was social intelligence. Okay, things like that. New media literacy, digital marketers, software developers. These are the things, computer analysts. But not everybody is technical like that.
Right.
Right?
So,
Not everybody is technical like that.
but that
Go
whole
on, you were going to say.
generation, on the most part, is. So whether I give you an example why I say that, right? Because Michael Amargani, who is a very is just outside the millennials age group, but close on the border. He is one who is pushing the Federation for Esports in the Bahamas, and they hope to eventually go to the Olympics. Well, in their program, in an interview with him, what he had indicated that the esports business that is all digital, that has marketers, it has agents, it has lawyers, it has all gamut of people that you find in the NBA and NFL today is in the esports business. That has some 400 million people worldwide in it today. And we're talking about 1.2, I think it was billion, he said, dollars in revenue a year. And I see the Bahamas very easily could be that. We could be a front runner in that industry. That's just one of many industries that you don't have to be tech savvy to be in the industry, but once you in that mindset, you could still function, right? Because like I mentioned, you have lawyers and HR people and the like in there who might not be tech savvy. So if we think of that and we think of where we are on the Bahamas as to what you know the strengths are, so where do you think we can go with that? With the whole economy, not just that industry.
Okay, well, let's think of what our strengths are, right? And what does it take to be a rainmaker, right? The crux of being a rainmaker is relationship building.
Okay.
That's what it is. Okay. Relationship, being able to build those strong alliances. Relationship building.
Said that they have that strength.
People, they have that strength. They have that strength. And amazingly, their biggest attribute is credibility. After all of those negative things that we said about their the perceptions that people have of them on the job and everything, their biggest strength is credibility.
Right.
In order to be a rainmaker, you must be a credible partner. You have to be.
Okay.
So they are well poised because they come bringing that to the table, right? Credibility is what your clients are looking for. So they have that strength, right? They have the relationship building fortitude. So that's two very important things for them. We already spoke about the tech savvy, the fact that they are tech savvy. Okay, they are innovators. They are innovators. And so the thing is, in order to drive business, big business, it takes innovation. So definitely they have the potential to do that, right? Another thing about them is that when we think about cross-border and globalization, right? We have our baby boomers in the workplace who COVID isn't going to stay with us forever. So eventually, things will be back to normal, and there's going to be the clients are going to want to see you. You know, when you think about globalization and landing those big clients. And so we have them now, these resetters who have gone back home, they're living home. They don't have the responsibilities, the financial responsibilities that so many others in the workplace have. They want the challenge. They are going to be the ones who are going to be at the forefront, going out there, making those deals, traveling, and guess what? They're willing to relocate. They're not afraid. They're risk takers. And so that's a skill. That's what they're bringing to the table as well. So to me, they have the potential to be those rainmakers. They have more skills than those negative attributes to be the rainmakers for the 21st century.
So how do we as HR is always considered to be the leader in people in an organization in a sector, how do we as a group, whether we are ancient leaders or new leaders, foster an environment to allow them to succeed and help us all rise in tide? What is rise in tide, raise all ships? I always remember that. So that's the way my philosophy is how we operate, right? You can't do it by yourself.
You can't do it by yourself. And the thing is, Happy, we say HR, right? We say HR, but it starts at the top. Okay, HR is one unit of the business. And if you find in an establishment where HR doesn't have a seat at the table, it's useless to say HR. You see what I'm saying?
So that's one key right there. If a business wants to be successful, particularly in the 21st century business, they need to have people-oriented people at the top, including HR at the table, at the top. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So the strategists, those that are making the policies, establishing the strategy for the organization to accomplish its overall goals, HR has to have a seat at the table. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Even today.
Yeah, the reason I asked you that, sorry to cut you off, but the reason I said that because today we seem to always want to have doctors, lawyers, and accountants at the table, and the rest is considered by the by. Is that changing also?
They call it back office. Okay, HR is still considered back office. Now, that's a misnomer if I've ever heard one, because what is an organization without people? Right. So HR could never be back office, but it's still in a lot of organizations considered as back office or personnel. And HR is more than that. HR is a key driver of business. And that's why we as HR professionals have to show that we speak the language, we understand the business that we're in. And then at the end, because we have a responsibility, major responsibilities to the organization, ensure that its strategies and policies, goals. And then we have that responsibility to ensure that the HR human capital factor, we represent them, but not only do we represent them, we mobilize them and we equip them in a way so that we get the most out of them. And ultimately, that's going to affect our bottom line. So HR, it doesn't start with HR. I'd say it starts with the leadership, top leadership. Okay. And what has to happen is there must be a culture created that is conducive to learning and growing and development, HR development. HR development includes that whole gamut of training, coaching, executive coaching, succession planning. All of these things have to be taken into account to create that environment for people to grow and to thrive. And so resetters, if we're not establishing a culture of learning and growing, mentoring and coaching, so that's how we're going to attract, number one, and retain. Two companies that have it right are Google and Apple. They are very big on hiring, and not only attracting, but also hiring and retaining. And it's because they create an environment and a culture of learning and development that is conducive to the resetter. Those resetters, that's what they want. They want those challenges. They want to be in a work environment that's, they like fun, they like challenges and that sort of thing. And some people might argue, well, you only go to work to have fun. But we spend how many hours on our jobs?
Yeah. Too many.
Making an environment that is too many, exactly. So it needs to be an environment that is conducive not only to our growth, but we want to grow in an environment where we're happy, and that way, guess what? The organization can't lose. Because if you have a happy workforce, then of course that converts into productivity, etc., right? Profits, etc. So
So if
That's the first.
if the leaders is one area that has an obstacle or has a resistance that might be able to tweak in order to help them succeed, then what would be another? And then also tell us what areas if that you would give advice to the reset generation out there if they want to become rainmakers, if they have the skills already and they can push in a certain area to have it make a big difference, be game changers in the life. What areas of discipline they might want to consider?
I think in the same way that the other four generations need to embrace the resetter, the resetter must also go into an environment expecting that I'm starting from ground zero. I
Right.
don't know everything. I'm here to learn. I'm going to hit those roadblocks because, of course, I know what I'm going to meet there. You know, Gen Xers,
Mm-hmm.
baby boomers, etc. So I now need to leverage what I know against what they
Okay.
know, the experience that they bring to the
Mm-hmm.
table. So I think that the mindset, it starts with a mindset. You have to be teachable. You know,
Right.
I talk about coaching, but you have to be teachable. You have to be open, you know, to change. And the thing is, we talk about them being this having helicopter parents, you know, they're used to that reinforcement. They want that. They want the
Mm-hmm.
reinforcement. And I think that's a positive work environment anyway. I don't think it's unrealistic to want to be positively reinforced and
Right.
encouraged. Those are the things that we expect anyway. I mean, that's human nature. We want to know that we're doing a good job. And so
Mm-hmm.
when they go into the work environment and they don't find that, that's what's so demotivating. And that's why they fly the coop, as they say, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what the millennial has to bear in mind is that yes, you have skills. Yes, you are bright. Yes, you are you have that tech savvy. Yes, you all are, okay? Because they have
Mm-hmm.
that mindset. But I am here to learn. I am here to grow. And as long as you provide that environment for me to grow, then we can get this done. We can grow together. And so it has to
Mm-hmm.
be that open, teachable spirit. That's what I would say.
Right. Cool. Okay, and so now we have this environment where we were going to have rainmakers. We know what skills is needed. We know their strengths, their weaknesses, and we now take off our egos to be able to move forward.
Mhm.
What do you see happening in the work environment in the next 8 to 12 months in the Bahamas? Are we going to embrace the reset generation? Or are we going to try and build what was there before, exactly how it was before? Which one you think will work?
I think it's
Which
already
one do you
started,
think will
Abby.
work?
It's already started. It's already started. Organizations are embracing most companies now. Anyone
Mm-hmm.
who is 55 and beyond will tell you that they're getting pushed to the curb. And then we
Mm-hmm.
keeping it real. They are getting pushed to the
Mm-hmm.
curb. And that's the reality of what's going on in the workplace now. You know, what they're after, what companies and leaders are after now are those resellers. That's what they're after. And why
Mm-hmm.
is that? Because our companies are realizing that if we don't keep up, we are going to get left behind. This
Mm-hmm.
digital revolution is going on now, and either
Yep.
we're going to keep up or we're going to get out. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the people that we have in place already, they're not going to be the ones to help us to keep up. So now we have to reset. We now need to look at our strategy, our recruitment strategy. And we now need to
Mm-hmm.
bring in those skills, those more innovative thinkers. We need to bring in those that are more tech savvy. We need to bring in those that that who can grow with the company, because we're growing. We intend to be scaling. You know, as businesses scale, they're going to look for the people that will help them to scale. You know, and let's keep it real. The 55ers and beyond, um, unless they're how do I put this without be sounding offensive? Unless they are well, you will find that the ones that are at the top in terms of leadership, okay, they're at the top in terms of leadership, but they're getting phased out. Many companies, most companies now are looking at early retirement packages for their people. COVID has created an environment where they are looking at packages, redundancy packages, left, right, and center. Because why? This is a great opportunity for us to take our company where we wanted to go in the first place. And how are we going to get there? You know, the human capital that we're going to invest in are those bright, sharp minds called resetters.
Yeah, so you say sharp minds, so on the resetters. So it would be wise for a reset generator to, in the time whilst before they actually get to sit in the seats, to refine themselves as much as they can. So when they sit in the seats, they can go kaboom. And then you have more Rainmakers, because I mean, one or two was on the radio today when you talk about junior achievement and all these different things, and now having the name Sir behind the name, you know, the different dynamics to them, but and people like Sir Franklin and those, but there's their mindset that drove them to be so successful, and now with these younger children having more of a, even I call it their mindset on steroids, then that makes it even more so that they should be highly successful in what they do. And we just need to create the environment for that. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know,
but then sorry to interrupt.
Sorry?
But you know, with the rise in online courses, free courses, you know, and they're the ones that are not afraid of the digital platforms. So they are skilling themselves and upskilling themselves even during COVID. So they are preparing themselves because they're taking advantage of those free courses on Coursera, etc. And they are upskilling themselves. So they have the key that, hey, in order for me to get into this game, I now need to upskill and look for some new skills. And they're taking full advantage because they're not afraid of the digital era. Yeah.
Right. And so that is a big one. And I always talk about this tsunami that is coming, right? And people always ask me what I'm talking about. But basically, it's because you have 3 generations that teaming up together that's going to cause massive change. And that's the X, Y, and Z's. So if we look at that, now there's only so much space in the work environment for companies. So then you have entrepreneurship. And so the skills that they have, to me, like you say, with people-oriented skills, make it even more encouraging that they will become highly successful. And I encourage all Generation X's and research generations out there to throw their hand in the pot. Don't necessarily look for a job, because you will create get guidance from people who can guide you. And so does the HR deal with that, the HR sector?
Well, not HR per se in an organization, because you know that would go against what we're trying to do within the organization. But I will tell you, as the mother of 2, I have 2, in fact 3 of them that are 2 of them already established in business, and one on his way to establishing a business. I find that, I mean, I applaud that. I listen, when I was young, when I was a child, my father, most of my life was an entrepreneur, and he still is to this day in his 70s. And he always encouraged us to don't go to work for anybody. Get into your business, you know, be an entrepreneur. I have a sister who's an entrepreneur. I am now an entrepreneur. So listen, that is the way to go. But the thing that I found out in research is that the Gen Ys, they're not as many of them going towards entrepreneurship as the Gen Zs.
These?
Now that's a whole different kettle of fish there. They are fearless. You
Yeah.
know, they are, and the acumen, the wisdom that they come to the table with is unbelievable. They will blow you out of the water. And so they're getting into businesses younger, even in their teens. Now, the thing is with the reset, the Gen Ys, is that a lot of them have become disillusioned with trying to get into business because of the red tape and because of the government systems make it so difficult for them to get into business, you know, financing and finding capital and that sort of thing. So they've gotten a bit discouraged, and so their numbers aren't as high in terms of getting into entrepreneurship. It's going to increase, especially because of COVID now, you know, with the difficulty of finding the job that they want. It's causing there to be a creativity that kind of propels them into entrepreneurship, which is a good thing, you know. But definitely the way to go.
Yeah. So Patrice, this has been very enlightening. I said that the lady in red was going to be very powerful at the beginning, and I don't know if my audience really thought I was joking, but I mean, you drop a lot of knowledge on the table that can help, particularly the youth, but also those who are in businesses who are afraid of the youth and what they bring to the table, to understand that they really and truly it's a teamwork. And you know, this man who playing second base have different skills than the man who playing third base, who have different skills than the man who's out in right field or center field. So, but you take the whole team in order to win the World Series, right? And so I encourage them all to do those type of things. So tell us now, in this last couple of minutes, what would you want to share specifically to the research generation out there? If you had, you do have an audience with them now, so you have an opportunity to express to them over a minute or two exactly what you would encourage them to do. What would that be?
Okay. Yeah. Listen, I will say to millennials out there, the reset generation, this is an optimal time for you. Listen, like never before, this digital era that we're in, you guys came equipped with it from the womb. So the thing is to find out where your passion is and then leverage that passion with where we are now in this digital era, right? You can pour yourself into something, but if that's not your passion, chances are your success level will not be where it could be.
Right.
So leverage your passion with this digital era that we're in already, and that's nothing difficult for you because you were born with it. You know, you're tech savvy, you came with that. You have the social skills, you know, everything that it takes to make a rainmaker, you guys have it. So it's to find that passion and then join that passion, marry that passion with those skills that you came from the womb with. And guess what? The sky is the limit.
Yes. So, Patrice, thank you for those wise words that you expanded just now and throughout the whole show. It's been an honor to be able to have you with us. A wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience that you bring to the table. We wish you all the best, prayers and abundance with your new endeavors that you have. And people can reach out to you should they wish. I'm sure you could probably give a contact for them, or they could go back and watch the tape again and see it in the.
Well, let me just quickly say that you can call me at 447-4525. We're also on LinkedIn, info at Hephzibah HR, training and development. You heard me talk a lot about soft skills training, and we focus on that because I realize that people make organizations thrive. And if we don't learn how to treat people, how to work with people, how to grow people, then our organizations are in trouble. So call us.
Yes. So I encourage us all to think big, dream big, and radiate what it is that we want and be committed, and we will always achieve the goals that we want. So as we go our merry ways for now until next week, we ask you to be safe, stay strong, and reach out and help somebody along the way. I am Dale Happy Knowles, and you've been listening to Something to Think About, and we hope you do so as time goes on. Thank you and enjoy the night.
Thank you for having me, Happy.
You're welcome.